Hello, today we are going to see how to automate thaumcraft for infusion using Steve's factory manager So, once we built an infusion altar stable enough, we can start with the automation. By the way, try to get the stability as high as you can, since the automation benefits a lot from extra stability. Anyways, to get started, we want an accessible interface to drop the crafted items and a chest where the interface will drop ingredients. Once everything is prepared, we can drop the machine inventory manager and connect it to everything. It is enough for the cables to touch all of the wanted inventories from any side. The altar doesn't care about the symmetry. We can check that the cable connected to everything by creating an output on the SFM controller. However, managing the pedestals like that is going to be annoying, so we can use a labeler to rename the blocks we will be interacting with. The first and most important is the pedestal in the middle, which we shall name accordingly. And we can see that we can now easily identify in our controller. But, to keep the items balanced on the pedestals, we want to rename all of them. And, to make things easier, we rename them in the order we want them to be filled. Here's an example, but just go in the order you would normally fill the pedestals while doing infusion. And now time to start our program. We could use some better trigger, but we are going with the default timed one. We can set the timing as we want, more frequent causes more lag but works faster. Next we have to move the items on the pedestals. To make things clean and nice, we can use a command group. This is basically a sub-program that will make a lot of instruction take only a single block of space. To interact with the flow of the upper program, we can use group nodes, inputs and outputs. Now that we have our nice group for filling the pedestals, we have to actually do the item insertion. We start by creating an input, which will take items as input from the chest. Then, one by one, we add all of the outputs. We go in sequential order to fill all of the pedestals, starting from the middle one. And, to make that work, we must make patterns with the middle item as first in the pattern. And we fill the subgroup with all the outputs in sequential order. With that done, we can go back to the actual program. And, before doing anything else, we will want a condition that will check if there are any items already present on the altar. We are going to do this check before anything else. To make it work, we select all of the pedestals. To make it match any possible item, we select one random item but in Match All mode. Right-click to open the menu. Now, if there are no items on the altar, we can proceed with inserting a new crafting. And to ensure that so far everything works, we can already try to craft something. As you can see, the items are already placed with the main in the middle and the others in a balanced pattern. To automatically start the infusion, we need an infusion claw equipped with a wand that has some vis inside. And, to make it work, it needs a redstone signal to start the infusion. So we add a redstone emitter which we properly rename. To control it, we add a redstone emitter to our program. We select the emitter and set it to output a strong signal. And that shall be done after the items are placed on the pedestals. Then we add a second emitter, with strength to 0 to shut it off. For the moment, we shall turn it off once the pedestals have been filled and infusion already started. And to avoid having the redstone emitter always on, we add a condition that will start the process only if there are items ready, otherwise, it shut off the starting signal. And now it is time to test if this works. The starting redstone signal barely made into the video since it went off as soon as I closed the terminal, but the process is starting. After the long animation of the claw, the long animation of the infusion starts. And, after all of the essential items are collected, we get our item. Now we only have to add a couple of instructions to retrieve those. But, before retrieving any item, we must be sure the infusion is completed. To do so, we make a condition that will check for items in any of the pedestal but the mid one. We shall make that check after the more generic one, And, if it is false, or better, there are no secondary items, then we can pull out the crafted item on the mid pedestal. So, we take as input the mid pedestal and we output to the interface to complete the crafting that A2 is waiting. And now we can do a test run, where we can see that everything works fine. Or maybe the items was extracted too quickly. The main issue now is that this speed is hardly acceptable for an automated setup. So we add a couple of world accelerator in tile entity mode. Those will use 12 amps of the use tier, which might be a lot for some people. So, we can add a machine controller cover to toggle those on only when needed. We turn them on when the infusion is started, and then we turn those off when the items are retrieved from the infusion. And here we also turn off the claw, since we must ensure it toggles on and off to properly work. And now time to see if this is fast enough. And I'd say it's good enough. Finally, we make a more sustained test to check if everything works fine, and, after a little bit of debugging, it works well enough. The only thing left to do is to make sure we do not lack of essential when we autocraft. We can do that by using an advanced provider, but I never fiddled with it. Or a different approach is to set a slightly higher timer delay and extract the middle item regardless of how the process is doing to stop anything that could have gone wrong. Also, you can have an input redstone signal to inhibit the automation and turn on the world accelerator for some rare occasion where you will want to do manual infusions.